technique, I am going to recommend cardstock, although, you know, whatever thickness of cardstock should work as long as you're not putting a ton of gel medium on. You're going to want a gel medium. Now, I've done this with glossy before. We're going to try it with matte gel medium for the first time in this video, and we'll see if it works or not, but it should. You're also going to want some kind of color that you can either drip or spray onto the gel. I'm going to be using Distress Spray Stains today. They work really well, but really any kind of sheer or semi-sheer color that you can apply without actually touching or rubbing too much should work out. Now here is a tag that I did that has the finished, it's, you know, obviously finished and dry, where I did this with color stains and glossy gel medium. So you can see it has a bit of shine to it, but you can see how, to me, it almost looked like stained glass, how the sprays get in there with the gel, and I just love it. So let's give this a try. So this is Prima Marketing Art Basics Matte Gel, and I have not used this before, so we're going to experiment with it. And the first thing I'm going to do is use a knife here and I just have to scrape off. This is what I love about these Dina Wakley palette knives, is that you can, nothing sticks to them because they're plastic, so if I get dried up gunge on the backside, I just scrape it right off, and I love that. Because I want it to be fairly smooth on the back. I don't care so much about the front, because what I'm going to do, and I have a stencil here, you'll need a stencil, although I suppose you could do the entire background. I'm going to play with the stencil here. You're just going to plop it and then spread it. You don't have to have a palette knife. You could use an old hotel room key, a credit card, you could use your finger, whatever you like. All you really need to do is make sure that you cover the stencil and whatever part of the paper that you want. And you need to make sure that it's thick enough that the whole stencil is actually covered and that there are not any gaps where the cardstock is showing through in the area that you're going to want to use. And the reason for this is pretty important, because we don't want color to come in contact with the cardstock. Now, I don't care if it's the very top or very bottom, because I'm going to be chopping those areas off. So those aren't super important to me. The most important is this middle area here. So once I've done that, it is fun time, and we can just spray. And like I said, this is actually, oops, I didn't mean to spray green. Oh well, we're going to make that work. So this is, as I said, the first time I'd been using this gel medium that's matte finish, and I'm just opening up. I guess I haven't used my chipped sapphire stain yet. There it goes. See, I can just cover that green up. And I'm going to let it set just for a minute. I'm going to hit this. I'm hitting this with the heat tool just for a moment, just because I'm trying to get some of that spray to soak into my gel medium. Another thing I can do, of course, is take my paper towel and just ever so lightly touch it. Now look what happens. The paper towel texture is going to show up, which is something that I love. If you don't love the texture, then by all means don't do that technique or method of picking up some color. And I can do it a little on the other side as well. It doesn't even have to be very much, just very lightly, and it picks up so much. I just love that. And I can add more color. I don't want to dry this all the way. I just want to dry it enough so that when I go to pick this up, when I go to remove my stencil, I'm not going to have liquid medium just whoosh everywhere. And that's a very technical term, of course, the whooshing. All right, so I'm okay with having a few white spots. The best way, because this particular stencil is a very small stencil, and this is a Balzer Designs for the Crafters Workshop stencil, by the way. I just need to get an edge of it and gently peel it up. Now what you're going to notice is, if there are areas, and there are on the stencil, where I don't have color medium, they're going to look white. Is that a problem? Absolutely not. We can play with that. It's just going to be a little different looking when we get our finished product. I am going to set this aside and let it completely dry. That's probably the hardest step. Now, before I move on though, I'm going to take this lovely and I'm just going to, ever so gently, I try to get it flipped onto there. Now this is another technique that I've really been liking, and that is, I'll come back in here. I'm going to use the same medium, although I don't think, no, technically you could use whatever you wanted. And I'm going to place it on here. And I am just going to do the same thing kind of, in that I put the stencil down and now I am applying this. And the color that you're seeing come through, that's from the front side, from all that lovely stuff that we were doing just a moment ago. But what I like about this technique, and I'm pressing on the stencil, I'm not getting tons. You can see I'm actually going to have a little bit of waste here, but I won't waste it. I will go use it on something else immediately because I hate wasting my mediums. I'm going to get a little craft knife in here just because I just want something tiny. A pin would work, anything at all. I want to be able to lift up this stencil as gently as possible. Oh, that's going to be really cool. Okay, so we've got, you can see how the color's really intense where it was on the stencil. And then there's a little bit of color coming into the other area, the area that I put the clear medium on. And that should be really neat when it dries. We'll set that aside and let it dry as well. What I love about this technique is it locks in all of that great color, because especially with, like, say, a distress spray stain where it tends to still be reactive even once it's dried. If you add moisture to it, it's going to still react. This really locks in the color, and I could come back in here, say, with a different spray. I have a Heidi Swap Sea Mist spray if I wanted to add that. And because I've used the gel medium, you can see that the gel medium will resist adding that spray stain. So you can see how it's only going to come in where the cardstock is showing. And if I wanted to go more of a blue color, I could do that. I love that. And this is the matte gel medium, so you can see it worked just as well. I love that I can do that. I love that I could play with gold here. I have some gold mist. I could really saturate this image with gold and then dab away. And while it is going to resist, in other words, while I can wipe it all away if I want to, if I don't, and I'm trying to get a lot of gold like way down in the parts that don't have the gel medium is what I'm trying to do right here. And actually, I think if I hit this with the heat tool a little bit, that might help some of it. I really want to make sure it soaks in before I come in here with my paper towel and try to wipe away. Okay, I don't want to wipe so much away. I'm having a hard time getting that balance. But at the same time, I don't want a lot of that gold to stay on these surfaces that we already colored. I like that balance. And what I really like too is I'm getting that paper towel texture. You can see I've got that great paper towel texture, and you can see that I love that it'll resist other colors coming in. And oops, it looks like I got some purple in there, but that's okay. That's all right. That's not a problem. We can still play with that. So what next? Well, the next step is going to be that I'm going to get out my paper trimmer and cut this down so we can make a card. I really won't need to do much at all to this. I just love how it looks just as it is. And I love that in so few steps, I'm cutting this to be a 4.5-inch square. I feel like this will be a really good candidate for more of a square card. So I just love it as it is. And I just think it just is so lovely. And I'm going to add a little bit more blue, just because I want a little bit more color. And what I like is, especially with a lighter color, it's really not going to show up. We're still going to get all of those great colors that we locked in before, but now we're just building more depth, more layers here. Just really liking how this one turned out. And I think what I want to do here is I will mat this onto, first what I like to do here, and you can tell that I have my trusty little mat here, and it looks like Yeah, everybody lines up. I always trust the lines in the mats more than I do my own eye, because a lot of times I'll think something's crooked that isn't, or think something is not crooked and it is. So I'll just grab a blank card because, and actually I'll hit this with the heat tool just to make sure everybody's really dry, because I don't mind having glitzy gold fingers, but I want to make sure I don't get any more gold or other stuff onto the rest of my card. And this will be able to be a very simple card, because this in and of itself, it's just the technique, but it's so pretty. I can use this as a focal point. Now, if I was using a design that was more of a background, you know, we would do something more like that tag I showed you, where it becomes the background and then we do other stuff on top. Now for my card, I will just grab an actual card here, and I got a good deal on these big white cards, and basically what I will do is, oh, and it's still a little wet, so I better fix that before I continue on. Or rather, maybe it's just my hands here. I better dry off my hands, make sure I don't have any more wet mediums on here. So I will just trim this down a bit. And I can always say 1, 2, oops, I need this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, it's a 5-inch wide card, so I'm just going to make it a 5 by 5. And what that will do, and of course, there we go. What that'll do is give me just a little bit to have around the edge, and it looks like I made a few little marks on here, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to worry about it being pristine, because I am going to do some other stuff here. So I'm not at all worried about if it's going to be just right or if it's going to be perfect here. We don't worry about perfect card making here in my world. So let us play a bit. Get this glued down. I like to make, usually I make a standard size 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card, but every once in a while, like I'm doing right now, I think it's kind of fun to play with squares, play with other shapes, other styles. And now what else can we do to her? Well, we could do whatever we wanted. I'm going to add a little line of stitching when I'm all the way done. And then I think the only other thing left to do is I will want to find, and I'm looking through some of my little knickknacks here. I was thinking maybe like a trio. I'm not even sure I want a sentiment on this. I usually do put some, oh, I know what. We have Tim Holtz stickers. Love Tim Holtz stickers. And I'm thinking the black ones actually. And so I can pick out a Tim Holtz sticker and just a couple of these. These are also Tim Holtz stars here. I'm thinking some of the smaller ones if I still have any. I use these stars. Oh, yep, there they are. I use these stars so much. And one of the things I need to invent is a little drawer for my buttons where all the little buttons don't fall to the bottom. I need to invent a drawer that has the little buttons stay at the top and the big buttons fall to the bottom, because it would make my life a whole lot easier for sure. Oh, I just love the colors of this, you guys. And I don't always add like a metallic element or whatever, but I love what that's gold, that Heidi Swapp Gold Mist. I love what that adds. Okay, so I have a few stars here to add. And then all I'm going to do is glue those down, pick a word sticker and place it, and do my stitching, and we'll have a completed card. You guys, I am loving how this card turned out. I hope you had fun and enjoyed watching the process video on this one. It was just so much fun to make, and I hope you enjoyed checking out what I'm doing right now here in the studio with gel mediums. Love gel medium. It's so much fun, especially since I'm totally stencil obsessed. So it really works for me to have it here, and I love my moon lady. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you don't already. You also want to go check out what Christine is doing, and I will do the fancy linky thing here so you can check out what she's up to with gel mediums. And in general, I love her videos. I love checking out what she's up to. And what else? Well, I guess stay tuned, because guess what? It's National Craft Month, and there's tons of stuff going on. All right, guys, until next time, I wish you very happy crafting.